Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Carlo with Four Guys with Quarters, and I have a very special interview today that I'm very excited for, actually. It's somebody that I've been following for a very long time, since his Sony Santa Monica days, and I've interacted with him here and there on Twitter. But before we introduce a special guest, I'm just going to quickly tell you who's on the panel with me today. So today we have PK Entertainment, who's a member of Four Guys and GRG. And we also have Flamish, who brags about the world's largest candy bowl for podcasting. Um, but our special guest today is Aaron Kaufman, who's currently at Square Enix. Aaron, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh man, well, I'm just turned 40, so over the hill, I guess. That kind of sucks. I've been in the gaming industry since 2004, and I really appreciate you saying that you've kind of followed me for a good chunk of my journey in this awesome industry. That means a lot to me. Being here today with you guys is really what's kind of kept me in this industry for almost a little over 16 years now. Currently, as you guys know, I'm the director of social media and community at Square Enix. Really, what that role means is I'm not the overlord of all things social media at Square, but part of my role is to consult with all the teams and all of our games on their strategy, and really just do what I can to help them achieve what they want to do, help them kind of stay aligned in best practices. And a lot of our social media managers are incredible, so they don't most don't even need that, but it's really fun to be able to be involved with all the projects. And then the majority of my role though is managing our brand accounts, so the corporate social brand accounts, as we call them. I've got a team of four people, three of which that sit here in the US, and one of which sits in the UK, and then a couple dotted line, very, very close friends in France and Germany. And together, we run the proper Square Enix social channels, and our German and France and Latin America channels. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter is kind of primarily where we're sitting right now. YouTube a little bit, we're getting better there. And I oversee all the strategy that goes into those channels.
That's
Awesome,
awesome.
man. I just want to say congratulations on the huge launch of Outriders.
Oh,
You guys did a great job. I think it's the largest launch of 2021 so far.
I mean, 2021 hasn't seen, a ton of like tentpole launches per se. And I think at Square Enix, we're super proud to, think of Outriders as that next major tentpole release, for our company. I mean, I'll take a smidgen of the credit. Sure, my name is in the credits of the game, but there's hundreds of other people in there, and really, I think some of the stars of the show that helped drive that game, especially on the community side. Toby Palm, Robbie Palm, those guys, they sit in the UK. They're the community overlords, the managers of the title that work with People Can Fly, and really helped bring that game. And I mean, when I first started was right after Outriders was announced in February. I started literally the week after that game was announced. I started right after Valentine's Day, just had my 1 year anniversary. And I I was super, super excited about this one. And these guys, like, they had a tough hill to climb. This is a new IP, from a genre that, admittedly there's no shame or non looking at it in the mirror about it. Like, it's a looter shooter, and there's a lot of competitive titles out there, but they really own the identity, and they push that game hard. And on the corporate side, like, we did our best to really just kind of follow in the trail that they were blazing. I think their Twitter account just passed 100,000 followers yesterday. I mean, if you know where they started, it's a really remarkable achievement. So I'm really proud of the social team that drove that game, and I'm just humbled and honored that I got to be part of it.
How did it
Absolutely.
actually how did it actually feel with the game going to Game Pass? How did that make you feel like?
I said this in a recent interview. I have an extreme amount of admiration for the Xbox social team. They just won the Twitter marketing war last night with Skittles, which is kind of fun, pretty hilarious, and awesome. I'm envious. I'm like, wow, I want to get on that leaderboard. Let's go to battle. So just, I think kind of affectionately, I think it's awesome. Between PlayStation Plus, Xbox Games Pass, EA's program, all the entertainment world, like everybody's trying to find like that, exclusive content subscription model. And far be it for me to complain about, one of our games going to a model like that where you instantly get in front of millions of people. That's the beauty of Games Pass, the beauty of PlayStation Plus. There's a lot of business financials and deals that go into those kinds of things. It's not just here you go. So there's, while I can't go into that, there's a lot of incentive for both sides to do a partnership like that. And I think it's awesome. I'm admittedly a PlayStation fanboy. I'll say that out loud. I've grown up PlayStation. I've been PlayStation through and through. It's nothing against Xbox. I love those guys. It's just, I'm not the kind of person that I think has time in life to have multiple platforms. I got a 5-year-old now. But I got to tell you, I'm, for whatever's to come on Xbox, maybe I'm gonna get a Series X, and especially with some of our games, doing things like the Games Pass with Outriders, that is even more incentive. So really proud.
Absolutely. One of the cool things about Game Pass too is even if you didn't get a Series X, it's something you could just play on your phone, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're allowed to say this yet, or if Square Enix announced anything like this, but have they shown any numbers yet as far as like how many users in Game Pass play Outriders?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I wouldn't be able to say anything about that. I think, the best places to look are the obvious ones. Sometimes Xbox will put those numbers out, infographics, NPD. We're barely 72 hours into the release of this game, and that's, I know the heart of where that question is coming from, because we want to celebrate that success. If we could say X thousands, millions, are playing this game now, like, what an incredible message to send. But I'll follow the team's lead, and to be honest with you, I have no clue.
No, understandable.
Yeah.
I have about maybe 400 people or so on my friends list on Xbox, and I've seen, I want to say, more than 70% playing Outriders.
Wow,
So
that's, it's we've all been saying, I mean, it's not like a slight to say we hope this is a sleeper hit, but when you're a new IP and you're being compared to lots of other games in history, and you're trying to like make a name for yourself, and it is kind of a quiet time in the industry right now. There's not the big franchises that people kind of like. It's funny, 2 years or 3 years ago now, I was releasing God of War in 2 weeks. April 18th, 2018. It's probably the biggest day of my career. But there's no God of War this month. There's no Assassin's Creed. MLB The Show, that's, amazing. They're not out yet, thankfully, because, I wouldn't want to compete against MLB The Show, even though they're two different games, but, that's huge, right? And congrats to them on also, going to Xbox. I saw that news this morning. That's really, really phenomenal. But yeah, I mean, I think Outriders, like, it's got some serious legs, and everybody's got to get out there and play it. It's a really fun game. And so that's really great to hear that the majority of your friends are checking it out.
oh yeah.
Speaking about Game Pass, I'm sorry for interrupting, Clown. I just wanted to make sure I hit this. Do you feel like Square or your group, your team, see for the seen future, if should the Outriders be successful launching on Game Pass, that you guys will continue this trend on releasing more products day and date on subscription systems such as Game Pass?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, again, in my position, that's just not anything that I have information on. It's a great question, and I actually want to know myself. I'm actually curious what the industry at large is doing. It seems like the industry is kind of creeping towards something kind of like that model. I mean, this is a totally outside example, but you saw the other day Netflix purchasing the rights to Knives Out, the sequel, the second and third one, for 450 million holy crap dollars. Like, that's just insane. And so, you're seeing all these content deals for the ability for these platforms to get their content in front of millions of people on subscription services, Disney Plus, Netflix, Paramount Plus, Amazon, and now we got PlayStation Plus, Xbox Games Pass. So I definitely think it's the future. I don't know how far the game systems will go between third party and first party. It's way early days. So it's a good topic for another day. I'm definitely not the right person for it, but I'm as interested as you are.
One of the things I want to say about the that People Could Fly, the studio that made the game, is that I'm very happy that the way they did the map markers, like you could push up, and it actually has like a really good travel path of where you need to go, and that's something that I feel like a lot of games are lacking today. You only see it like in a few games where there's a really good map marker. And I think that is fantastic because that is a huge accessibility issue for people with cognitive issues and memory loss. So I want to say congratulations and thank you to them for putting something like that in the game.
Yeah, I I know exactly what you're talking about when you hit I forgot the button, but it shoots the little thing that lets you see, kind of leads you. I love that. And our company, not again that I can go into detail because I'm definitely not, it's not my role to be the expert on, but Ameline Chiassen is our accessibility lead who sits in Square Enix Montreal, and she's also relatively new. Has been here, I think, a little over a year. I might be wrong, but it's around that. And I know that she has been going around trying to consult with the teams, and there is a strong future for us to broaden accessibility in our games. Much further. I mean, we definitely look at Naughty Dog, Insomniac, right? Like a lot of the PlayStation first party titles, and Xbox, with their controller and what they're doing. The platforms are really leading the way on that, and third party, I think, has a good ways to third party at large, right? Some third parties are doing it better than others, but we all have a long ways to go. And so that, what you're talking about there, I never even thought about it from an accessibility standpoint, to be honest. And that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just wanted to thank him because that was some feedback that I had actually, I mean, not specifically to People Could Fly or Square Enix, but some general feedback I left on Twitter a while ago to, just in general. So to actually see something like that in a current game is really exciting to me. So good job to them and congratulations on the successful launch. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
it's huge.
I hope so. I hope if you believe it's huge, then it's definitely
They
huge.
did
So
they did post some numbers on the Steam, and it was pretty big.
oh,
So
cool.
yeah,
That's news to
so
me. What are
and
you
that's
seeing?
just
I don't
Steam.
even know.
Um,
You seeing
I
that right now?
can't I can't. I'm not looking at it at the moment, but yeah, I seen it yesterday,
I think in
and
our Slack, our we have like a group Slack chat for all the community managers here at Square Enix, and I think Toby Palm, who's the community manager, he tweeted something this morning like Steam achievement unlocked, and then he says, rip my inbox. His inbox is like 1,000 emails right now. um,
yeah. So if you can imagine if it was successful on Steam, it has to be successful on the other platforms as well.
yeah, and we need it. I mean, it's not to say we need it because we're desperate or anything, but again, you launch a new IP, and it's one of the hardest things to do in this industry. Everybody wants what they
Facts.
know, right?
Facts. That is true. But you guys did a good job. You put out a good demo, and you also let people know, the progress carries over. So that's a good incentive too. So that's just FYI. Gamers love that. If you're gonna give us a demo, let us carry whatever we're doing over to the main game, right? That is a huge incentive to invest. Because as you say, there's lots of games that are similar, but everyone may get burnt out and want something new. So
Yeah.
especially if you're bringing something new that's different, definitely if you're going to launch anything like that, let the progress carry over.
Well, I got I've got some extra codes here that I'll throw over to you guys and give away on the show. I've got, give you a few for Xbox, a few for PlayStation. So
Steam codes too.
I have 0 Steam codes at the moment, but I can get a couple. I'll get a couple for you guys.
Awesome. That will be
Awesome.
Throw them
great.
away on Twitter to drive some folks to watch this or whatever you want.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
that would be awesome.
yes. I do have a question that's non-Outriders related, and you can. It's about we have heard crickets since, and I'm a big fan. I have purchased Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1. I'm looking for the PC and Xbox release. Do we know, since the exclusivity and do we know when that's going to come, or is that just something we can't talk about until after this month?
Well, it's definitely something I can't talk about because it's not something I know about. I think we're really focused on Final Fantasy VII Intergrade right now, the PlayStation 5 release, which is going to be incredible. I mean, it looks stunning, as if the original game didn't already.
Oh, right. Yeah, it was amazing. I played that game. I don't know how I got 200 some hours into the game. So it's amazing. But I do want to play it on my new PC or slash series as well. I buy every single Final Fantasy. I'm embarrassed, so don't judge me.
Oh, don't be embarrassed.
I bought that game on PlayStation 1, on Steam, Xbox, Switch, whatever it launched on, the original game. I purchased it every single time. and went through 1,000 hours in each one.
It's funny you mentioned what you're discussing. And yesterday, my partner Eric So, who's senior social media manager on my team, he slacked us leaked gameplay of Final Fantasy VII Part 2, and it was like, I was like, what? Because it was April Fool's Day, and it was definitely not that, obviously, but what it was is someone modded Final Fantasy 15, the PC version, to look like, and wow, like, the modding community out there on the PC side, like, you got to watch out for that. I mean, they, between like fake videos and faces and, fake Tom Cruises running around the world, apparently, it's it's crazy what people can do on PC, especially. So
yes,
that's the closest you're going to get right now. But otherwise, I have zero insight into that. We're squarely focused on Intergrade, and again, really excited about it.
Is Intergrade a full package, or is it just, obviously I'm excited because it expands the story on Yuffie's heritage, which wasn't talked really about in the main series. But is this like a full? Are we going to get like a actual? You know what I mean? Like an actual add-on where it's its own story, kind of like how 15 did it with their stories when they added the stories later on, as far as the DLC, when you get each character's perspective, kind of thing.
I mean, again, just in my role, I don't. I think what the Final Fantasy team has put out there is what they've put out there so far, and right now the game it's an enhanced version for PlayStation 5. It contains the story with Yuffie, and that's the content that we've discussed, and so I think that's the package, and the team is super excited about it. So that's about all I can tell you on that one at the moment.
Okay, I got another question, because I was thinking, like, how hard is it to actually market a game to social media and stuff like that if it's an unknown IP? How difficult was your journey to get to this point where it's now into Game Pass?
Yeah, I mean, again, for Outriders, if that's kind of what we're alluding to here, new IP from the ground up. We've also got another one we just announced called Forspoken.
Oh yes,
as well.
Fire.
Formerly known as Project Athia, so it had its second beat technically at our Square Enix Presents show. There's a couple ways to answer that. First of all, we being Square Enix, we do have the luxury of being Square Enix. So when we put our name next to a new game out there, whether it's new or current, we have the benefit of having that brand equity, and there is always that kind of initial following that you get, that groundswell. And that's because, this company producing amazing games over 20 years, has built that up. Whereas, You look at the team behind Among Us, right? Like they came from nothing, and they are the game of the year right now. I mean, the game that everybody's talking about, and Victoria Tran over there is just an absolutely stunning, amazing community manager building up, the brand of that game. You look at Oliver at Fall Guys, right? Like same thing. So I think people like that are very inspiring to look at how they use all the tools at their disposal, look at what their fans are saying, leverage and amplify them, to bring their channels to life, celebrate them. So I think that's one really, really critical way. But a lot of that comes from the post-launch. The game has to be in people's hands to be able to do that kind of stuff. So I think, personally, I think what the Outriders team did really, really well, two things in particular. One, they were very frequent. They are posting on their social channels almost every single day since the game was announced. And I know Toby Palm, who kind of heads that up, he tries to pride himself on, he does pride himself on encouraging his team to explore new things every week, try to come up with one different piece of social creative, whether it's how a GIF is done, or audio, or a trailer, or a short cut down, or Twitter fleets, or whatever it might be, Instagram story, like just exploring new things and finding different ways to present the game. So I admire his tenacity in that. And so I think just in general, when you're a new IP, there's something to be said for like keeping some intrigue and mystery, which is really what we're doing with Forspoken, because we're not ready to like blow it out, but then when you're a game like Outriders, where intrigue and mystery is not necessarily the strategy is we got to sell this gameplay. We don't want people to think it's this game or that game. It's this game. And so that requires a lot more frequency. I think the other thing that they did really well was on the influencer side, the creator side. We have a incredible creator management team, Nell, Kat, and Adam, here at the company. They kind of manage the stable of incredible creators, and yourself and many others out there. And so even just from the announce event in February, kind of like Apex Legends, that was very creator driven. I wasn't there myself. I don't know how the invite list was made, but at any rate, that helps give you a boost when you've got a swell of creators who are initially talking about your game and getting the word of mouth. So, I mean, to me, like those are two of many ways you can do. There's paid advertising, depending on the size of the game, what is your marketing team doing to place the game in other places, getting press coverage. I mean, especially if you're an indie game, press coverage is like that. It's not the be all end all, but it is like, that's the gold. You need the IGNs and the GameSpots and the Kotakus posting about your game. So yeah, I mean, all that is to say, it's a hustle. Very few games out there, just become, successful on their own merit of a single trailer. It takes work. So very few are lucky. And you can look at Among Us and say, wow, like, how did they get to millions for a game that's been, out there for 2 years? And sure, you could say like, well, some creators started jumping on board with YouTube and Twitch, and but that's not why. The why is Victoria and the team behind it, pushing and coming up with innovative ways to celebrate that game. And the same with Fall Guys. Again, you could say, well, they were on PlayStation Plus, free game of the summer. Yeah, but that only gets you so far. Many games have been on PlayStation Plus that aren't a fraction as popular on social media as that one. And that's just the truth. And it's not to take anything away from those teams, but it's just to say, the hustle can reap rewards.
Yeah. Also, a small follow-up question: do you actually talk to other community, like people that do community managers? I would say, like, do you talk to those, like, from other teams, ask her questions or maybe ideas from them?
Absolutely. So, a few quick answers to that. Number one, I'm part of a Facebook community manager group that's got over 500 community managers. It's kind of it was started a number of years ago, and it's built up considerably. So ideas are shared there all the time. Having been at PlayStation for 8 years, I have a WhatsApp group with probably 12 incredible people who some are still at PlayStation, many are former, and we've kind of stayed friends, and we shoot the shit and share knowledge and talk shop, and that's fun. And then of course, we've got all the incredible social media managers here at Square Enix, and we have a Slack channel, we have an email list, and part of my role, part of my deliberate role, is to share best practices with all the social media managers, whether it's bringing in new tools or sharing great articles. Some of that I do better than the other. But I think those three things, areas are places where a lot of knowledge sharing happens. And occasionally I'll just send a DM again to an Oliver or a Victoria Tran, whose names I keep mentioning because, they're studs and they're easy to mention right now. And so, yeah, totally. It's definitely cannot, there's no way in hell I know 5% of how to do this job.
Well,
Safe to say.
I think you do a fantastic job because everything that you've done has always been positive on social media, and I think
Thanks.
that's really important too because the biggest issue with social media is that you got to know how to manage it right. You have to respond to the positive stuff, and you got to kind of avoid the people that are just looking for attention in the worst kind of ways. And I think that Square Enix, yourself, and like you said, Victoria Tran and Oliver, I think they've all done a fantastic job of that. And I mean, you guys are just superstars in this community management industry.
Oh, thanks, dude. I appreciate that. I kind of, it's funny, like being 40 now, I weirdly say like, I'm from the old school. Like I come from the old school pioneering days, when I started this gig in 2004 at EA Los Angeles, I had every intent to be a marketer, not a community manager. I didn't even know what a community manager was back then. And I was a marketing assistant on a game called Battle for Middle Earth, the very first one. It was an RTS title. It's made by the Command and Conquer team. That's the first game I ever worked on. And I was a marketing assistant. And 3 months into the contract job, which I wasn't full-time at the time, I just noticed that nobody was talking to the community. And back then it was all about message boards and fan sites and IRC chat rooms. And the Command and Conquer team that was making Lord of the Rings, they formerly had a community manager, a guy named Chris Rubio, who in the late 90s and early 2000s was the community manager of that title for Westwood. And he had gotten elevated to being a designer. And unfortunately, he had to leave his post. And leaving his post meant nobody was talking to the community anymore. Well, EA at the time had a central team that was a web team. And there was a person on that team, great guy, who was the kind of unofficial community manager of the game. But with all due respect, he wasn't close to it. And so my boss and I, we just saw people talking about it. And we're like, maybe we should go on there and just take it. And so I literally, I kid you not, this is how I got into this role. I came up with a persona for myself called EA APOC. It was named after the Apocalypse tank in Command and Conquer. And because I knew the team was going to be making more CNC, so I wasn't going to make myself like EA Gandalf or EA Frodo or whatever. But I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. And I just went on the message boards and I was like, hey, everybody, I'm EA APOC, and I'm here on the Lord of the Rings team. I totally just faked it. I was like, I'm on the Lord of the Rings team, with the dev team. We love to hear what you think about the game. And I just started talking back and forth on the message boards. And before I knew it, I had just fallen into it and I'd fallen in love with it. And even that year, what today we would call, I guess anybody would call a creator event, or, we called it a community day. And I would bring out you guys, 10 of you guys from our best fan sites to EA, show you the game, give you the behind the scenes, help you guys inspire, get feedback. And so anyways, long story short, that turned into an 8-year run at EA where I just started to learn and figure out how to become a global community manager. And Chris Rubio at the time was one of my early mentors, and he helped me in my first year kind of get off the ground. And then from there, I just kind of took it and ran. And, before you know it, what is it, 2008, 9, Facebook, Twitter start becoming a thing. YouTube starts becoming a thing. And here we are. Like, social media in earnest has really only been going, I'd say, since like 2011, 12 even, that, stuff has really taken off. So while I think of myself as a bit of a pioneer in this industry, I still think of myself as a noob and trying to learn, from everybody. But yeah, that just gives you a little bit more insight into my origin story, I guess.
Oh, thank you. Definitely appreciate that, and that's actually a really cool story because it's weird how you transitioned, from one role into a different role, and it just kind of took off for you. And I mean, that is awesome. I know we're at the 30-minute mark, and I don't want to make you
Go
go over
another 10.
time.
We'll go another 10.
Okay, sure, we could
Mhm.
do that. Uh,
This is
Flemish,
good. We're riffing. I like it. Let's go.
Yeah.
you
What do you
can.
got?
Well, I was thinking like with actually the Lord of the Rings game, what was your favorite faction?
Oh man. Probably Rohan. Yeah. I mean, those guys are badasses. God, you're like testing my knowledge. I mean, Gondor, Rohan, Mordor. Oh shit, this is like really bad. I do have oh man. Yeah. I mean, it's more about asking me like what's my favorite CNC faction, which would probably be Nod, because I really liked the Scorpion tank and the Apocalypse tank, obviously. And I was, well, at the time, I was friends with Joe Coogan, who plays Kane. Um, he would call me APOC, and he would make fun of the fact that I would always wear sandals and to work, and so. But those Lord of the Rings games, they were something special. They're still written about today. In fact, there's a modding team that I think has been working on a project for a number of years to bring that game to Unreal. And what little I've seen of it, wow! I mean, it looks amazing. Good question.
I was going to ask you, since you for all your entire career up until now, and where you at now, what do you think is the most valuable takeaway that you would say is the best part of your job versus the hard lessons you had to learn over the years?
Well, I'm gonna steal it from a book whose line I've been using. It's called The Marketing Rebellion by this guy Mark Schaefer, and I've used and abused this line. It's actually in a deck that I made that I presented a couple of years ago at a social media conference, and the line is, we are our fans' greatest fans. I think when you do what I do, you have to be authentic and passionate and have a real honest and earnest kind of love for your fans. When I talk to our fans on social media, I want them to feel like I'm literally at the dinner table with them, or I'm at the pub having a beer or a cup of coffee. And it's not to say that's not something I knew 15 years ago. I think it's something that every year grows stronger and stronger within me. And I think it's also why I've stayed at companies at EA and PlayStation notably for a long time. Even my stint at THQ with WWE and UFC, I potentially could have still been there right now if not THQ going where it went. Unfortunately, I had to segue out of there. But thank God, because PlayStation ended up being a blessing in disguise, going to Santa Monica Studio and really finding my true love and passion with all the fans who were big fans of our games and God of War and other titles. So I think that's number one. Number two, I think, is something that people struggle with a lot. And I know I have over the years, and it's taken me a good like 3 or 4 years recently to get good at receiving direct feedback. There's some companies who pride themselves on the culture of direct feedback, meaning, it's not going up to somebody and saying you're a terrible person, or that was horrible, or that was shit, but it's being able to take it in and know that the feedback you're getting is to make you better. It's to make this product better, the business better. And we have to be willing to accept that, because nobody is perfect. And throughout the majority of my career, I've had incredible managers, but my managers have generally been, the GMs of a studio or the higher level, where they've kind of let me run my own ship, my own island. And frankly, here at Square Enix, it's probably the first time where I have a manager that, I am a little bit closer tied to, who's kind of taking a harder focus on the goals I'm trying to achieve and kind of the day-to-day work. My former manager at Santa Monica Studio, Shannon Studstill, who was the former head of Santa Monica Studio, she was, at the grassroots level of what I was doing. But because she was the head of the studio, she gave me all the time I needed, but she kind of let me run my show. And here at Square Enix, I am very much doing that. It's just a different and positive relationship with my boss, Michelle Schroeder, who's the head of communications. But I think all that is to say is that I am not perfect at all. Far from it. I tell my team all the time, let me know, what can I do better for you? And I try to give them feedback as well. And early in my career, or a lot of it, I would kind of have an ego about me, if I'm being honest. I would kind of tank through things or just go gung ho and not always think about like the chain effect of, if I go to, I've always worked right on the dev floor where the teams are. And there were times where I would subvert a producer and I'd go, if I needed like an animation file or something, generically speaking, I'd go right to the source. I'd be like, F this, like, I need to get what I need to get. I'm just going to go get it. And I'd go talk to an animator or, a designer. And sometimes I would forget, like, I should probably go talk to the producer, or I should probably think about that person's mindset. What are they working on? What's the chain effect of me, Aaron Kaufman, coming for a screenshot? And that's no matter what job you do, I think it is so critical to be able to take feedback and just think about the chain effect of your reactions to other people, the little nuances, the little grains of how you respond in an email, how you talk to somebody. Those all have impact. I literally yesterday, it was a semi-heated conversation with someone on my team, and we both hugged and loved at the end of it, and everything was all good. And I said to him after, I was like, I was kind of crappy. Like that wasn't me. I could have came at it a little bit differently. But that's, some of those times are healthy too, So I know that was kind of a long answer, but it's something I think a lot of people, we can all get better at.
Also, a smart question I have, like picture mode that seems to be popular in these games. It's not a little bit easier for you now that you can just go in game, like when they're developing it, maybe when they have it, right? And then just take a picture in game and use that instead of walking.
That was like the biggest tone shift of all time, going from talking about like, don't be a jerk in the work environment to let's talk about photo mode.
Oh yeah,
that's
I
That's
completely
okay.
random
that's
sometimes.
for you.
I'm just joking around. Photo mode. I mean, picture mode. Yeah. I mean, when I was working at EA, I did I did the majority of the marketing screenshots. If you go and Google Lord of the Rings Battle from Middle Earth 1, 2, Return, Rise of the Witch King, Command and Conquer 3, Red Alert, God, the list goes on. Just about any screenshot you see out there that is kind of has a watermark on it, or marketing screenshot, is one that I took, or the majority. And I had to use like crazy tools, PC tools, to position things, script. And, today, not to say I don't know what goes on behind the scenes for screenshots of a lot of games, but when you have a photo mode, I mean, the world is your oyster, like, holy crap, you can do, I love seeing fans just do things that are 10 million times better than anything we would have ever done. That's the true mark of success.
Yeah, there was even a small contest with Ghost of Tsushima, one of the biggest examples. I had a beautiful photo mode, and just a contest of making the most beautiful picture. But I'm thinking like that's free marketing as well, like from social media, the people putting the pictures on there.
There's I'm glad you said that, because when I was at Santa Monica Studio on God of War and we put out our photo mode, that juiced our social media for quote years, right? Like, it's only been 3 years, but like there's a guy named Dot Pone on Twitter and he's one of the more preeminent virtual photographers. And he is just has the biggest passion for our game. And every week it would be like, different screenshots of the realms of Kratos, of Atreus, and all these crazy cinematography angles. He's kind of the yin to the yang. If the yang is, say, Suni Legend, if you guys know who he is, on Twitter, always creating just incredible gameplay and combat gifs. And he kind of originated from God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn, creating amazing moments. Also because of photo mode. So again, when you give your community these tools, it's so vital, and it's so vital that it's there at launch. If you can get it there, so much work goes into these that fans will never know about, that make things complex. Not that you need to know about that, but yeah, I hope to see more of our games bring photo mode, like Final Fantasy VII Intergrade, bringing photo mode. That's going to be amazing. I can't wait to see what people do. Maybe getting up close on like Cloud's hair, like mine or something, or keep his eyes, or just the city of Midgar. Like, yeah, all about it.
I want to say, going back to what you were talking about, I think during the development cycle, though, I don't always think that photo mode is, available right away. I think a lot of times in development, they're still working on all of that stuff, and it kind of makes sense while it's in development to go ahead and get a cool screenshot to put on social media to hype it up. So I actually, that's probably a hard job to find the perfect screenshot to get, because it's in development. So it's got to be like an art to say, okay, this is the screenshot we need, and this is how we're gonna get it, and I need the characters like this. And then, was that a challenge for you early on?
Oh man, I have nightmares, like PTSD, like nightmares about that. Like, I can't tell you how many times, especially when I was working on Command and Conquer, when I was really doing a lot of screenshots. I was using the same modding tools that the community would be using, and basically in that scenario, I'm going in. I'm literally like a movie set. I'm literally setting up the pieces in a frozen static scene, and then I'm setting some scripts. I'm telling, soldier fire here, tank go that way, setting up waypoints, like trying to envision what I want this scene to be, for the single benefit of getting one frame that I think is going to look amazing. And mind you, there's no rewind button. So you set all that up, you hit go, and then you're frame stepping. And this is literally what I would do. I would spend hours frame stepping, looking for like the right moment with the fire coming out or the spark going here, and is this coming here, and then turning the camera, like my block, like the possibilities are ridiculous. And I would create tens of hundreds of screenshots, sometimes of the same scene, go through them all, pick out my favorites, take them to a producer. He or she might be like, yeah, that one, or none of them, go back to the drawing board. And, so the art of creating screenshots is one of the most underappreciated. I mean, someone should make a documentary about the art of creating screenshots in this gaming industry. At the end of the day, you want to create an exciting screenshot that looks authentic and gets people hype. I kind of think screenshots from a marketing perspective are maybe starting to, in my opinion, go away a little bit, because it's a video world we're living in. Everybody wants ephemeral short video, 5, 6, 7 clips. You're scrolling. You just can't stop. I personally think screenshots are far more important for our fans when we give them the tools to create amazing things to share, than for us to, say, create sort of inauthentic screenshots that may or may not be how a user will actually play the game. None of it is to say we shouldn't be. It's just to say that when your fans are creating the screenshots, that's always like the most authentic, painting that you see of your game, to me. So
Yeah. I just wanted to go back to talking about just a little bit back, kind of like the marketing aspect. I don't know if you've seen this, but I made an April Fool's joke of getting rid of my sneaker collection. And
No, I didn't.
so yeah, a lot of people didn't pick up on it. I mean, some people liked it, but so it's a gift, but it starts off with like the sneakers, and it's just like a solid, stable picture, and then it goes into a frame of Outriders of me dismantling all my boots that I didn't need.
That sounds really funny. Did you tag our Outriders account?
No, I didn't. I didn't think about
Oh, well,
that.
that's your fail right there. You got to tag us.
Ah,
Tag
Yeah.
Square Enix, tag Outriders. That's the thing, though. It's like, you know, we want to try to notice all of our fans as often, and I'm a big proponent of amplifying you guys. Like when great content is created, like I want to get it out there to however many people. So if you're here listening to this, tag our effing accounts, not because I want to get more followers, but because I want to see what you're doing. And I don't have some magic wand. I have tools, but I'm not going to catch it if you don't say our game or tag our account. At least not most of it, unless we're already following you.
That's a good point. So if you're out there, gamers making screenshots of Outriders or doing anything awesome with Outriders or Final Fantasy, tag Square Enix, tag the game brands so they can see
Yes,
this stuff.
please do, please do. Well, this has been great, guys. I certainly don't mean to bring it to a conclusion, but I do need to get on to the journey of Friday, and but this has been really awesome. I so appreciate you guys inviting me to this.
absolutely. We thank you for coming through for sure. It's been fun.
Yeah.
You got
Any
something
final
else,
questions?
Carlos?
Is there the one more thing question? Otherwise, I'll leave it to
I was just
you.
gonna say, let people know where they can find you.
I mean, the best place to find me is on Twitter. That's where I tend to be the most active. Typically in the late night, which is kind of odd. I've been pretty bad at managing my personal brand lately, but I'm just underscore tank. That's my handle. I'm on LinkedIn. People ever want to reach out or connect. So those are the two places. My Instagram and Facebook tend to be they're not private by any means, but it's really just where I'm posting my 5-year-old, as crazy as he is, and I do that on Twitter too. So yeah, that's how you can reach out to me anytime.
Awesome. Well, I want to go ahead and thank you for coming on. And real quick, you could find PK on Four Guys Recorders and GRG. And you can also the Dragon's Den. You can find Flamish on Four Guys Recorders and the Flamish Experience. I'm going to go ahead and thank everybody for watching this later. And as soon as we get any codes, we'll be able to give them away on the show and promote the videos. And I'm really excited. So, again, Outrider stuff, Final Fantasy stuff, tag Square Enix, tag the brands. Let's get this stuff out there because games are amazing. A lot of work goes into this stuff, and we appreciate it. So, thank you everybody for watching and listening, and talk to you guys later.
Thanks.